I've noticed a larger than normal number of drama frogs in chat. Did something happen while I was gone? Were there like 50 hit piece videos on me or something? Destiny watched you for like 20 minutes today on stream. But how? I haven't been I wasn't here for a week. Was he watching like old shit? Watching you through the window? Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Whatever. I think people have this weird image of you that makes them very curious when they watch your modern stuff and see you're not like that at all. Wait, is this in reference to Destiny? Destiny's whole chat was reluctantly agreeing with you, and Destiny was like, I guess, bro. Listen, the reason I can't engage with this all that much, and I guess, like, maybe this will get clipped or engaged with, I really don't want to do a back-and-forth drama thing, because genuinely I think it's like a soulless, like, it depletes the life force, it's a net negative for the world, it kills me, it kills everyone, etc. But the thing that I keep coming back to is that at the end of the day, like, the forces that are rotting this country are numerous and they are powerful, and I think that they are very explainable through a historical material lens, which is a gay, wanky, Twitter lefty way of saying, like, I think that this ultimately comes down to the relationship between those who have power and those who don't, those who control capital and those who don't. And I think that at the end of the day, most people in this country who are not hardline evangelicals or very, very, like, irrationally motivated by like racism or sexism or whatever, I think that most people in this country will eventually be forced to reconcile with the fact that there is a certain group of political agents who are wrecking the place, and they are doing so in a very deliberate fashion, and they hate us and they hate our values. And the very broad category here, I suppose, is capital and the people who support them, and the more specific category I'm referring to here is Zionists. It's all well and good to engage in this like bitter culture war where you know, Hassan's bad because he's pro-Houthis or whatever. But, like, at the end of the day, you know, I'm consistent in my positions. I understand that the IRGC are fucking bastards. I understand that, you know, the Ayatollah is a fucking bastard. I understand Hamas, by and large, are bastards, the Houthis, and so on and so forth. You have to understand this as part of a broader power game, a dynamic wherein we're not arguing for who is right, but who is least wrong, and what we can do to bring the world into a position where the least wrong person is also, by and large, right. Like, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to not have to fight for lesser evils, but instead for, like, a good outcome. The Middle East is a while from that, but, you know, I think that at the end of the day, people will eventually come to realize, like, dog, the reason the Democrats are so weak, the reason we can't do anything, the reason why Republicans and their oligarch cronies are doing so much to rape the country to death and so openly corrupt and nobody's doing anything and media is complicit and so on, is because of, like, capital bias. Like, you don't, the crazy thing is, I don't actually think you have to be a socialist to recognize the nature of the issue here. There are contemporarily and historically tons of capitalists, people who believe in free market allocation of resources, people who don't believe in a state-run economy, people who don't believe in and nationalization, whatever, who recognize, like, hey, theoretically, it would be bad if all the media was run by, like, 5 hyper far-right guys. Go ask, like, anyone through history, hey, man, so you think capitalism's a great idea, right? You think that, like, the market allocation of resources leads to efficient outcomes? Sure, yeah, okay. Do I currently, right now, Vaush, believe that? In some cases, I think the markets are pretty efficient. I think it kind of falls apart when you have inelastic demand, but yeah, whatever. Sure, okay. But you look throughout history, there are people who believe this, that you know, the market does a good job with these things. But then if you ask them, okay, so do you think it would be good if all the news was run by like 5 far-right dudes? And I think everyone would be like, no, unless they themselves were far right. We're arriving at the logical conclusion of systems that have problems in them. And you don't have to necessarily agree with my solutions to those problems, but goddamn, you gotta agree with the problems, man. Ellison's about to gobble up another fucking mega corporate media. Like, this is gonna keep happening. And eventually, like, we're going to have to make a choice, okay? We are going to have to make a choice. And we are going to have to reconcile with the fact that this goes beyond Republican Democrat. It goes beyond Iran Israel. It goes beyond socialist capitalist. On a fundamental level, however we label this system, we have designed and constructed an ideological funnel that has created the elites that are now raping us to death. Like, we have built a set of incentives and they have produced an outcome. And in order for us to fight that outcome, we have to fight the incentives. You know, the outcome itself is a byproduct of the incentives. It follows naturally. You have to attack you have to attack the premises before you can go after the conclusion. The conclusion is here. We are at the conclusion, you know? I guess, like, this is the reason why, and it's the reason why, like, I don't know, Ethan Klein's bled off massively. It's the reason why everyone, Republican, Democrat, young, old, are all growing less pro-Israeli over time, even here in America, and across the world, by the way. There is a rot. And Zionism ideologically overlaps with that rot to a large extent because Israel is like a settler colonialist capital project. But even if Israel didn't exist, the capital class would just make one. It would be South Africa. It would be Rhodesia. It could be anything. It could be like French colonial Vietnam if they still held on to it or so. Like, it could be anything. It could be anything. It just had to be a social and political front for a set of political and economic issues. That's it. Because it's difficult to defend capital on its own as an abstract, you know? Republicans would not get very far if the only propaganda they had was like, we should be nicer to billionaires. If that was all they had to say, like, I don't think that would land very well. You need to frame it through religion or ethnicity or whatever else. You need to frame it through racism, or xenophobia or nationalism. It's always worked that way. It's always worked that way. So yeah, I don't know. Like, we will eventually come to that conclusion. Now, my belief is that it's too late. I think that the inertia, it's a runaway train. The inertia is too great. I do not think that we will be able to rationally reorganize capital or the powers that be in time to prevent like a catastrophic supply chain or political failure. I think that we can manage the decline. I think that we can like maybe bounce back quickly. There are benefits, right? You know, there are some advantages here. I think that a considerable advantage we have now as opposed to before is we have A, GMOs, and B, solar panels. Two big technologies that will make it much easier to rebound. It used to be that when a famine or like a drought caused a famine, it could be years of just the dirt is ash and nothing is growing. But now agriculturally, we have the technology to bounce back between that modern farming methods, fertilizer. And also solar panels means that even if like we had a catastrophic supply chain collapse, we have the ability to build technology that could power local settlements relatively easily. Whereas if it was like 50 years ago and there was a gigantic supply chain collapse, it would be like you have to rely on fossil fuels or maybe like a fucking water wheel or something. You know what I mean? Like the idea of local reconstruction, settlement rebuilding, I think has gotten a lot easier now that we have the ability to essentially like farm energy for free from the sun. So that's cool. You know, that's relatively easy. You can start that up pretty quickly. Yeah, I don't know. It's rough. Hopefully it's not as bad as I think it's going to be. People often give me a lot of like flack for feeling negatively about the future, but I don't know. I mean, we've been through worse points. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, this is the reason why I just can't get behind. I don't know. People, they want a drama frog. They're like, oh, Destiny said this or whatever. And I mean, obviously, sure, I disagree. Everyone who disagrees with me is going to hell. Blah blah blah. You understand? But also, like, at the end of the day, I don't know. We'll all come together around like a collective desire to right the worst wrongs and fix the structural and systematic issues you know, that have produced these outcomes. I think probably. I don't know. Maybe. Possibly. Yeah, it helps that I know for a fact that everyone who disagrees with me is going to hell. For sure, for sure. Oh yeah, I know I just did like an anti-drama spiel or whatever, but just out of curiosity, what someone said, Anna, the woman who helps the Ukrainian soldiers or something, she said I was an anti-Semite. Was there any like, was that predicated on something, or is this just like apropos of nothing? Like we're looking over me being anti-Israel and we're deciding that it's a product of some like genuine like bigoted animosity. She said you're genuinely anti-Semitic. She was drunk. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know the. Not Anna Kasparian. No, not Anna Kasparian. Anna Ukrainian. That's all people are saying Anna the Ukrainian. So I mean, I'm sure she probably has a last name, I would assume. One day it would be nice to get your full unrestricted thoughts on how bad things will get. I feel like I speak pretty freely. I'm not like hiding any secret pessimism from you. She said you talked a lot of shit about Azov, but then turned around and became an anti-Semite? What? Reacting with Destiny to you reacting to the Israel Day speeches? Israel Day. Oh, the New York parade one? What did I say anything disagreeable there? Well, hold on. I said a lot of disagreeable stuff. Did I say what was the I was mad as fuck about that parade. I feel like I'm not getting much information on this. Guess I'm getting it from like secondhand sources. You often don't give more concrete specifics on what it'll be like when things get bad. I never will. How could I give concrete specifics on stuff that might happen in the future? I don't know. I can't see the future. Is there not a tweet or something? Nah, it's probably just stream stuff. Anna said you were anti-Semitic in chats with her or something? And I remember having a conversation with Anna that was like super awkward last year, so I was going to look back at it and see if there was anything there. Bridge building? Wouldn't it be the opposite? Wait, we talked about, a bit wild to hear you say you're supporting bombing of Serbia, but what Serbs were doing was nothing in comparison to what Israelis are doing. Their main target weren't Albanians, by the way, it was Bosniaks. They were exterminating them. 1 million non-Serbs were deported. Wait. But I have defended the bombing of Serbia. You literally said what Serbs did to Albanians is nothing compared to what Israelis are doing. That's fucking offensive. Oh. Okay, wait. You literally said what Serbs did to Albanians is nothing comparison to what Israelis are doing. That's fucking offensive. Unless you have proof of 50,000 rapes, 1 million shipped to deported camps where Palestinians are chainsawed, forced on stage to what the hell? She sent me some really weird messages. She's just falling for all the propaganda. No, like the messages she sent me were like really like spam. It was like Twitter DMs. Nah, Discord DMs. I thought that was a chatter. No, she messaged me a bunch of stuff because she was upset that I said that what the Israelis right now are doing is worse than what the Serbs were doing / trying to do. But I that seems to be like the only... This sounds like offline baggage. I was just wondering if there was like an argument. I didn't remember the extent of the conversation, so I was wondering if there was like an argument, but it's basically a completely one-sided engagement, so there's not really anything to engage with here. It just seems like her being like crashing out. Alas. She's super DGG brain too. It's just, it's a dead end ideologically, because pretty soon, like to the extent that it's not already the case, like fucking, it's going to be like a 90-10 issue among Democrats. Support for Israel, you know? It's massively disproportionately represented in the halls of Congress, but outside of that, it's just, it's such a foregone conclusion. Thank God the Democrats are broadly in favor of at least some liberal principles. You're going to sell your stream to Larry Ellison? Legit? Depends on the number. Give me a number. The only thing I think made you look kind of bad in Destiny's stream today, IMO, is when you started talking about the Eric Goldstein guy who got charged with bribery. I think someone linked you the wrong article in chat because you misidentified when we were talking about a different Eric Goldstein. So wait, is the accusation that the only reason that I would have conflated two people who have the exact same name is because it's a Jewish name? Like if I was talking about a non-Jewish white guy, and somebody linked me an article on a guy with the exact same name, that I would instantly be like, hold on, I can identify that these are two separate people because of their goy names or whatever. I'm not entirely sure if I understand how that translates into an accusation of bigotry, but so noted. So it wasn't that guy then. So like it was a parade of genocidaires and lunatics, but that specific bribery charge was not that guy? That was a different Eric Goldstein? Okay, gotcha. That's good to know, at least. Retarded chatter. Many such cases. Would you do it for 1.2 million tax-free? For the channel? Fuck no, dog. Okay, I have a question. Why Israel of all things? I feel like Ukraine would be better for the powers at B because it's more... I'm not sure. Commander 64, I'm not sure what you're asking. From whose perspective? What are we referring to? They mean like how you said capital could have used French Vietnam? Yeah, well, if you are going to make a social cause out of defending the interests of the worst and most powerful people on earth, you need to frame it as some kind of like the reason Israel's perfect is because Jews are a very historically marginalized community. So you can disingenuously weaponize liberal progressivism against anti-Zionists by saying that Jews, like the infinite death that Israel casts upon its neighbors, is actually just the only way a marginalized group can defend itself, you know? It could have been like it could have been like a Liberia kind of situation. You know what I mean? It could have been anything. It just needed to be you conservatives like Israel because of evangelicals and because they love it when Arabs die, and liberals historically have liked Israel because they fall for the mantra of like, well, they're a marginalized progressive. They're the only progressive democracy in the Middle East. You know, you can do it from both sides. So I guess in a way you couldn't really do it for South Africa then, because South Africa was always unambiguously right-wing. Israel has done a pretty good job of like threading the needle for a long time, you know? Threading the needle in an effort to try to appeal to both ends of the political spectrum, whereas like liberals don't really have an ideological reason to defend South Africa or whatever.